Welcome back to Cycling Unboxed, and today we are going to be going over some upgrades that will make your road bike faster. These upgrades are basically, if I were to buy another bike, what would I upgrade in pretty much which order to get my bike as fast as possible. You may have some, a lot, or maybe even most of these upgrades already, but this video is basically just a big, long, comprehensive list of almost everything that you can go over to make your bike faster. I have 4 categories. The first one are the essential categories, the things that I would not ride my bike without these upgrades. The second are purchasable upgrades. The third category is stuff that you can do to your clothing or your body, so the person on the bike. And finally, the fourth category is the reaching for upgrades. So these are at the very extreme end where they're quite expensive and very, very niche. Over here in the corner, you're going to see an estimated watts gains. This of course depends on your bike, your products and stuff that you're riding, and your bike might fall anywhere within that range. Finally, before we get going, these are going to be focused mainly on aerodynamic gains and rolling resistance gains. I might do a weight video in the future as well, so stick around for that. Let's kick it off with my first essential upgrade, and that is tyres. The reason I've got tyres first is because they reduce your rolling resistance with a good pair like this. These are the Vittoria Corsa Pros. There are loads of options out there, but tyres work at all times, at every speed, and they will make your bike faster. Most bikes come stocked with a slower tyre, but I will put some links below. There is the Aero Coach testing, so they've done some testing on which are the fastest tyres, and also Bicycle Rolling Resistance have done lots of testing on which tyres are fastest, so links below for those. For my second essential upgrade, this is what goes in the tyres themselves, and these are going to be inner tubes. Personally, I like a TPU inner tube because you get the rolling resistance gains, so they're faster at all times again, and they're some of the lightest options out there. You can get some 19 gram TPU inner tubes, and that is basically going to save you like 80 grams per wheel. So not only is it faster, it's lighter, and you can pack more spares in your saddlebag as well. Other options out there are latex inner tubes, which are even faster, and finally tubeless, which is as fast as latex. I will be getting away from the wheel soon, but my third upgrade around here is tyre pressure themselves. Personally, I use the Silka tyre pressure calculator. That will have a link down below. And just finding your optimal tyre pressure for the road surface that you're riding on is going to make you faster. It's going to save you a couple of watts, just simply by having the right tyre pressure. Something free, a great upgrade. My next essential upgrade has to be a waxed chain. A waxed chain is not only faster than most normal lubricants, but is also so much cleaner. And really the cleanliness of this chain makes your bike faster, so you have less watts lost going from the drive chain to the wheel, but it also makes it faster to clean your bike. Waxing your chain is one of the best upgrades you can do for me personally. I'll have a link down below on a video guide on how to wax your chain. If you are using wet lube, the main thing I can recommend is just to keep it clean. A clean drive chain is a fast drive chain. My final essential upgrade is making sure that your shifting is perfect. This isn't really an upgrade, but it's something that everyone can do to make sure that their bike shifts properly. You will be losing time, you won't be putting the power out if your shifting is not working properly. So make sure that it's always perfect. So those are my essential upgrades. Here are now some upgrades that are purchasable and I think arguably make your bike look better as well. We're going to kick it off with wheels. Now the advantages to upgrading your wheels could be numerous. First of all, you could be saving a lot of weight, especially if you're going from a standard box section rim. Secondly, they're usually more aerodynamic as well. These ones are 50 on the front, 60 on the back. And I think around that 50-60 mil depth is the sweet spot for a road bike in terms of aerodynamics and weight. There are of course a plethora of options out there, so you got to decide what suits your budget and your price range. Not only that, a deep section wheel looks super cool as well. The next upgrade on my list is one I've been absolutely loving recently, and that is the one-piece handlebar and stem. Just like the wheels, there are a number of advantages. Number one, it is the first thing hitting the wind. So this is where the wind has the most impact on your bike. Going for a one piece usually hides a lot more cables, so it runs through the frame. Big savings there. Also going to a one piece will lighten the front end as well because there's less bolts, there's less carbon parts here. It's all one piece. This one specifically was 100 grams lighter than the previous two-piece bar and stem I had on here. And finally, the one-piece bar and stem personally looks really cool. It's so much cleaner than the two-piece. And I believe if you already know your position, you've got it dialed down, then upgrading to a one piece is a worthy upgrade. If you're still making changes, then a two piece is much more adjustable. But like I said, if you already know what your position is, this is a great upgrade. Next up on the list, and something that always makes a difference, is your bearings. You've got some in your front wheel, you've got some in your rear wheel, and you've got some in your bottom bracket as well. Now you don't have to go for ceramic bearings, just buying a cheaper good steel option with contactless seals will make your bike faster. If you really want to go extreme here, you can put a racing grease inside the bearings, and this will save you a few further watts on top again. But they generally don't last in the rain, and you usually have to re-grease them like every 1 to 2,000 kilometers if it's dry. But with that being said, if you got tired or worn out bearings, you've done 10, 15,000 kilometers on them and you haven't serviced them, well, maybe it's time to get them checked. Could be some gains there. Arguably the most important thing on your bike, brake pads. Now the reason I've mentioned brake pads in here is because having a good pair, for example the Shimano ones or Swiss Stop do some really good pair of brake pads. The harder you can brake, generally speaking, the later you can brake into a corner, meaning you can go faster overall on your bike. It also means you'll be more confident, meaning you'll hold more speed wherever you're going. This, generally speaking, applies to the lower end tiers of bikes. Usually these top end tiers, well, the braking power is pretty damn good already. I would also argue that this applies to rim brakes more than it does disc brakes, because the difference in the pads on the rim brakes really shows through. The power meter. Another upgrade that I personally can't live without, and the reason being is having the power meter there means you can manage your effort so much better. It means you can also structure your training so much better. So the potential gains from your training could be a lot higher. And when you're doing certain efforts, time trial efforts, efforts up a climb, you know how long it takes, you can manage your effort and your power to suit that climb. Aero bottles. This one here is on my time trial bike and specifically designed to fit my time trial bike. But you can get similar aero bottles like these for other bikes such as your road bike. A lot of brands nowadays, such as Cannondale and Trek, are going for more aerodynamic bottle that fits in with their frame as well. So an aero bottle can be a surprising upgrade, especially if you're just doing a short-term race where you don't need to carry too much water. Finally, the last of my purchasable upgrades, the last thing I would do personally is the frame. So there could be a number of reasons why you want to upgrade the frame. You might want a more aerodynamic bike, you might want a lighter bike, but for me personally, if you're only 1 or maybe 2 generations behind the current version, usually not worth upgrading the frame. If you're maybe 3, 4 generations down, then I would make the argument that they have made frames lighter and faster since most of those generations. And I've got to say, it is also very expensive to upgrade a frame. With the purchasable upgrades out the way, let's talk about things that you can do to your body and your clothing, because these can have a really big impact when you start to reach those higher speeds. And the first major upgrade that you can do to yourself is position on the bike. First of all, just going to the drops can usually save most riders about 5 watts. So just spending time there, especially at the higher speeds, is a really big upgrade. But if you want to go fast, you'll see it on the pros nowadays. They get their hands down here, their body down low, their chest towards the bars. And this position alone can be mega savings. So if you want to go faster, the main thing you can do is really just change your position on the bike. The body itself is roughly 80% of the drag at like 40 k's an hour, maybe even 30 k's an hour. Someone can correct me on that one. When it comes to your one-piece bar, you can also go narrower on the bars. These are a 40, they kind of perfectly fit my shoulders perfectly, but I could happily get away with a 38, which should theoretically be like 1 or 2 watts faster. When you're riding around those big 44s, like this is a 58 bike, came stock with 44 wide handlebars. There's major upgrades just to be had just by narrowing the bars. Other options, as most of you probably would have seen by now, is you can turn the hoods in as well to achieve an even narrower position. The next big upgrade that you can do to yourself is shaving your legs. Something so easy, so simple, and so cheap can have a major benefit to your speed, especially at around over 40 kilometers an hour. Even at 30 kilometers an hour, this is a major upgrade. I know even those less hairless of you, you can save roughly 30 seconds over a 40 kilometer time trial. For other people on the other side of the spectrum, like me, which you could call more Wookie, you can expect these gains and these speed savings to be even higher. If you do want to take it to a further extreme, you can shave the arms as well. Personally, that's a little bit too far for me. Next up on my list comes aero socks, and this is one of those cheaper areas where you can actually make some gains. Usually where most tests happen at around like 30 to 40 k's an hour, you can save anywhere from 3 to 7 watts just by having an aero sock. The leg is a cylinder and air doesn't move very well around a cylinder, so they're designed to trip the airflow to keep it attached round to the back of the leg. This in itself is also a relatively cheap upgrade, and personally I like to use the Silka Aero socks because they look and feel like a more traditional sock. Coming up next is just buying correctly fitted clothing. Now usually when people get into cycling, the clothing tends to be a little bit baggier just because that's what feels right, and then as you cycle more and more, the clothes start to get tighter and tighter and tighter, and that's because most of those guys know that having tight fitting clothing is a major upgrade at speed. Anything flapping on the body will slow you down. It is a hindrance, so just make sure your clothing fits right and you will be going faster. Aero helmets. Now once again, this is another area that is directly hitting the wind, so it can have a big impact, especially as you build into those higher speeds. Generally speaking, the more aero the helmet, the less vents there are going to be, as the helmet is trying to control air over itself. But as you probably saw just there is a direct downside, as having less vents means that your head could heat up quicker. So on those hotter days, maybe not recommended, but if you can withstand it, definite upgrade an aero helmet. On the topic of that sock area, you can go for the full aero shoe covering. So this will go over the shoe as well as over the socks. So you get the trip around the leg, but you're also covering up those dials on your shoes. Just covering up the dials alone has generally been seen to be around like 3 to 6 watts at 40 k's an hour. If you don't want to go for the whole shoe cover, there are other options like no pins now. Just do a cover of the dials, and this should make you a little bit faster. Okay guys, let's go into some upgrades that are really stretching the boundaries here. Some of these upgrades I've tested myself, and I'll let you know about them when we get to them. So this is the reaching for it category. Now this is something that I really don't recommend because you could get caught with your pants down, but simply removing your saddlebag can be quite a large aero gain. Even though it's still hidden behind the body, this can be anywhere from like a 1 to 3 watt penalty, even in this position here. Not only that, I carry quite a lot in here. There's 500 grams worth of weight in there, so you could also make a big weight saving. But I hope you're riding with other people, and I hope those other people have enough spares for you as well. My next reaching for upgrade is the oversized pulley wheel here. Now I do have a video that explains why this might be faster. I'll have that linked below. But generally speaking, depending on your drive chain efficiency, it could be anywhere from like half a watt to a 2 watt upgrade. I think that number with a wax chain though, like this, is really, really low. Especially for the speeds that these bearings spin. They do have ceramic bearings in them, and well, at low speeds, yeah, no difference. On the topic of ceramic bearings though, this is my next reaching for an upgrade. When you're just riding along at like normal speeds, even at higher speeds, you probably can't tell the difference between a really high performing steel bearing compared to a ceramic bearing. I've even got a ceramic bottom bracket in this bike here, and when riding along, I actually can't tell the difference. Like I said though, I think the main thing you can do for your bearings is making sure they're not worn, they're clean, and you've got some decent quality grease in them. My final reaching for an upgrade is going to be an aero or more integrated head unit mount like this one. Pretty much any one-piece bar and stem, you'll be able to find the perfect mount, but if you're running maybe a two-piece or a round handlebar, you may find just having that extra surface area and widening the bars around this section may just slow you down just a teeny tiny bit. As I said, this is in the reaching for it category and it's very niche. There are some brands that do aero ones out there such as Silka. They do this rather expensive 3D printed titanium one, and whether it actually makes your bike faster, I don't know, because this already has a very slim frontal profile. Well everyone, that is my fairly comprehensive list of ways to make your road bike faster. This video is just here to kind of give you ideas. It's up to you to go away and look at what products can suit your bike, or if any of those upgrades can apply to you. Moreover, there are probably things that I have forgotten about in this list, so if you have any more ideas that you think I've missed, please put them down below. I will then pin a post with a comment right at the top of loads of things that I have missed and ideas that I really like. So I'm sure there's many out there, please give them to me. You can also find me over here on Instagram. I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. See you in the next video.